What is up, everyone? Happy Saturday. It is Saturday, January 14th of 2023. Still getting used to saying that. We are here back with another family education and support group with your host, Param, your weekly host of this thing. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to participate in not only your recovery, but my recovery, and to be able to connect with some of the fellow peers that we have on this journey with the Jims of the world. What's up, Jim? And everyone else that's going to pop up here. And today's going to be a good one. So as we're waiting for people to come in and trickle in, let me just do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Param, like I said. I'm here each and every single Saturday for the most part. We'll hit like 48 out of 52 in a year. And this channel, this live stream, this group is intended for you, the person who is going through the recovery process firsthand, or you're going through it as a result of someone else going through addiction, and you're kind of like the bystander, the person that's in that system going through it. And the whole intention and purpose is to be able to provide some information, some education, some knowledge about communication, self-care, boundaries, trust, understanding addictions, understanding recovery, and a little bit of everything in between. And some of the people that you see in the group leaving messages and comments, some of them are clinicians and counselors and therapists. Some of them are moms and dads, like my very own over there. Some of them are other people that are going through the recovery process themselves. So we have a little community here. If you're new, when someone says a comment, I can put it up. So for example, Jim said, good morning. Tony said, good morning. Jess, happy to have you back. So happy almost birthday. This is Mom, and this is Hossein John. So people just coming in, trickling in right now saying hi. So today we're going to be talking about what it means for winning in recovery. So I know the whole connotation of winning sometimes could be bad, because if we have a winner, there by default, we have a loser, but that's not what I'm talking about, because I actually believe that some of our biggest failures in life, and some of our biggest setbacks in life, and some of our biggest, perceived moments of self-doubt in life are the catalyst for the greatest transformation and shift and change. So what some would consider losing in some realm could also be considered truly winning. So I'm going to go through and share with you. And by the way, just so you know, I do have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy with an emphasis in child development and human development. I'm a licensed advanced alcohol and drug counselor. So that's kind of in like the addiction scope. I'm also a high school basketball coach. I also am a college professor. I can say that now. I don't have to qualify it anymore. I'm also in recovery too since June 13th of 2008. So that's the day, woke up in the hospital and said, I got to do something different with my life. And I've been on that journey ever since. So let's go through this. When we're talking about winning in recovery as an inside job, what does that really mean? Okay. I believe that when you're at peace with yourself, then and only then can you become at peace with the world. So when you're at peace with yourself, then and only then can you become at peace with the world. And what are some of those components that we can become at peace with ourselves to be able to win this thing called recovery, to be able to regain something that's been lost, stolen, or destroyed? And I got 10 of them for you today, and I could put them up one by one. So the very first one that I have is for us to be able to, if you're trying to win in your recovery, you must, not you may, not I suggest, not I think it's a good idea. You must, you have to, you need to, you should take responsibility for your life. Now, there's a quote that a long time ago I used to have on my desktop, which Jim still has it on his desktop because I passed that desktop down to him when we switched offices. It says that as human beings, you might have not been responsible for the world that created your mind. So think about it. The world that created your mind, you probably weren't responsible for it, because growing up, kids don't really have a say into what the hell's happening around them. But as a grown adult in recovery, you have to take responsibility for the mind in which creates your world. So the number one thing when you're trying to win in recovery, when you're trying to achieve something in recovery, is to take responsibility for your life. 100% responsibility. And sometimes someone says, hey, I'm going to take 99% responsibility. But that 1% you leave out, that 1% allows you to justify, rationalize, blame, validate for reasons why you didn't get the outcome you wanted. And some people might say, come on, 1% is nothing. Really? 1% changes the shape of material and objects. Water, the most free-flowing, cool, hydrating life source liquid in the world, at 211 degrees Fahrenheit is water. At 212 degrees Fahrenheit, it turns into vapor and steam. Water at 32 degrees or 33 degrees is water. At 32 degrees, it becomes frozen, turns into ice. 1% changes a lot of things, my friends. And taking 99% responsibility for your life might be good, but taking 100% responsibility is the only way that you will be able to move forward. Now, and the main question here for you to really notice is like, am I saying that if someone did you wrong, like if someone did you wrong, someone screwed you over, someone lied to you, someone hurt you, someone, abused you psychologically, emotionally, am I saying that by taking responsibility for healing from that, that's your fault? No, I'm not saying that. I'm too compassionate and I'm too educated to know that certain things happen to us in life and they're not our faults. But I'm telling you this, if you're waiting around for those who harmed you and those who hurt you to come around and say, sweetie, I'm so sorry I did that to you. I'm so sorry that happened to you. If you're waiting for that to happen, newsflash, man, no one's coming. No one's coming to do that for you. You got to take responsibility for your life, and you got to take responsibility for your healing journey, and you got to take responsibility for your own recovery. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Nobody else will. And Jim said right here, and he put a capital letter, I'm the only one living my life. And that's absolutely true, my friend. Nobody's going to live it for you. That's been established. And if you don't take responsibility for it, no one else is going to do that either. So the next one I have is clean in and clean out. So winning in recovery is an inside job. Number 2, you have to have clean going in order for clean to come out. Now, on one level, we can look at this in terms of, the dietary needs, just as an example. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the more clean fruits and vegetables and food that you put into your system, the cleaner it's going to come out in terms of digestive process, ability to function, mood, sleep, energy levels, vitality. But in recovery, it's not just what we're eating in life, right? It's also what you're seeing in life. It's also what you're hearing in life. It's also who you're surrounding yourself with in life. Now, the cleaner you create an environment that you consume in that environment, you consume conversations, you consume experiences, you consume people, places, things. The cleaner all that is, the cleaner it's going to come out of you. The cleaner you're going to be able to live, the cleaner you're going to be able to function, the more energy, enthusiasm, passion, vitality, zest you're going to have for life. But a lot of people put themselves in conversations with people they call toxic, but they keep doing it. That's one thing that always trips me out. As a clinician, someone sits with me like, that person's so toxic, that person's so toxic, that person's so toxic. Yet they continue to talk to that person over and over and over and over again and continue the same relationship with that person over and over and over again. Well, if someone told me that food is so toxic, it'll kill me, I'll probably avoid that food. Or this poison underneath the sink, if you drink it, it's toxic. It's going to kill you. You got to call 911 if that happens. But people, they'll consume someone's toxicity, their conversations, their thought processes, their energy, they consume it. Afterwards, they feel all dirty and tired and like lethargic, and then they go do it again. Take responsibility for your lives. And remember that clean in, clean out. The cleaner you go in, the cleaner it comes out. That's just the rule 101 of recovery. The next one, number 3, winning is an inside job. Well, you got to listen to successful people. And who are successful people? Well, it depends what you're trying to achieve. What outcome are you trying to achieve? If you're trying to achieve an outcome, for example, of maintaining long-term abstinence and recovery, then the best person to be able to, or the best type of people to be able to talk to and listen to, are those who have been able to obtain and maintain, achieve long-term sobriety. That's it. And does that mean that they have all the answers? No, because we're complex. You might need to work with a therapist. You might need to work with a psychologist or psychiatrist. You might need to work with a nutritionist. You might need to work with a personal trainer. And someone always says, I don't have money for all that stuff. Man, there is so many ways now with this post-COVID world and online and telehealth and different ways that you can access resources, and freaking YouTube, for God's sakes, can you be a free resource, that I don't feel bad for anyone that says I can't get the information. You're just not trying. You're just not trying. And within every budget, by the way, it's available. Every budget. Majority of things I find are free, by the way, you know. So listen to successful people. And also, so successful people are those who know the way, show the way, but most importantly, also go the way. So surround yourself with winners and you can become one. Absolutely, Jim. Absolutely. And Tony, you're having technical difficulties. I don't know what kind of weather you're experiencing up there in the city by the bay, but I have a feeling it's going to be a rough one up there in San Francisco today. So don't worry about it, dude. So now we go back over here and we're listening to successful people. And if you're a family member watching this, right? So please, if you're a family member, listen to this part. It's safe to say that up until this moment of your loved one's recovery, so whether it's your spouse, your child, your grandkid, you don't really know what you're doing. And some of you might say, well, how dare you say that? You know, I've read enough about it, or maybe I myself am someone in the healthcare field. I know, but objectivity, perspective, it's hard to work with something that's so close to you if that's the case. But if you've never dealt with addiction and mental health, then you got to expose yourself, surround yourself with successful people. And in your world, who are those people that are successful? People that, despite of their loved one having addictions or mental health issues, despite of their ability to maintain their sobriety or not maintain their sobriety, despite the ability for them to maintain a healthy lifestyle, they themselves have learned how to live on life's terms, live life on life's terms. They've learned how to set boundaries. They've learned how to communicate. They no longer allow the up and down volatility of the addiction of someone else impact them. They no longer allow someone else to run havoc in their lives. They no longer allow someone else to take space in their mind and get nothing back in return. They no longer allow themselves to be a victim to addiction and the consequences of it. Where do you find those people? 12-step groups, Al-Anon groups, support groups, online groups like this. They're out there, man, with the rates of millions. But you got to raise your hand and say, I need help and I have no idea what I'm doing. And sometimes family members have a hard time doing that. They have a hard time saying, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. So number 4 is, if you're trying to win in recovery, you have to plan, and more importantly, you have to prioritize. So one thing that people that usually lose in life and don't succeed in life say is, I don't have time. All the time. The number one thing, like if we're playing that game called, what's that game on TV show? It's like, hey, what's the number one? Family Feud. What's the number one thing people say when they don't succeed at their goals? Number 1 is, I don't have time. That is the greatest myth and the greatest lie that anyone can ever say. Because all people, myself, you, everyone else listening, everyone else that's in the streets right now, driving in cars, flying in airplanes, living in third world countries, living in modern worlds, someone living in a high rise, someone living on a park bench. It doesn't matter. We all have the same amount of time in a day, 24 hours. Now, why some people are able to use those 24 hours effectively and why other people are not, it comes down to failure in planning and inability to prioritize. Like when I say I do something for my mind, body, and spirit every day, my schedule is really busy. And I'm not saying this to brag about it. My schedule in a 16-hour period, oftentimes my schedule about 12 to 13 of those hours is accounted for every day. And if I don't wake up very early in the morning to go on the treadmill and to go walk and to work out, I will not have time the rest of the day to do so. It's impossible. Therefore, I have to prioritize my mental health, my physical body, my exercise routine to a time that most people don't want to a time when you wake up at 4:35 a.m. and you go to the gym and people might be thinking, what the hell are you doing? Because to them, they don't understand that's the only time that exists. And, people always say, well, I got this, and this to do, and I can't do it. I can't go anywhere. During COVID time, when we couldn't go anywhere, I figured it out. I worked out at home. I didn't have to leave the house. There's different ways to go about this, my friends. So I have little to no empathy, sympathy, or compassion for people that tell me, I really want to do it, but I don't have the time. Well, I say, okay, that's okay. Are you open to sitting down and finding out where you do have the time? Are you able to plan? People plan their days. I plan my hours. And most people that are successful plan their hours. They don't plan their days. Like hour to hour. Every hour is like a new day. Every hour is like a new day. Every hour is like a new day. And the only day I kind of chill a little bit is on Sundays, to be honest with you guys. It doesn't mean I don't do a lot of stuff. That's the day I kind of like relax a little bit more. So if you are unable to find recovery, now that's the next one. So I use the gym because more people can relate to it. Now, there's a thing that people in the recovery world, they tell us that, hey, I don't have time to go to the meeting. I don't have the time to do my step work. I don't have the time to do X, Y, Z. I don't have the time. It's not that. I do not think that this is important enough for me to prioritize it. I don't think that I get enough out of this for it to make a priority in my life. Tony said, you be a champion, you need to practice with champions. Absolutely. We always become kind of who we are and what we surround ourselves with. Jim said, you have more time than your perception will tell you have. 100%. We always think that we're running out of time when in reality, there's a lot of time. Hossein John said, time is a precious commodity and depends on how we use it, can help us towards success or failure. It really is a commodity, and I don't waste it. I don't waste it at all. I actually get a really, really sick, uncomfortable feeling when I slow down and do that. Too often when we prioritize ourselves, some people around us call us selfish. The challenge sometimes is to truly believe that it is okay to be selfish time to keep ourselves balanced and healthy. Oh man, Eileen, you're preaching to the choir. I have been known by peers and family members even as the selfish one, as the one that doesn't come and do some little small, birthday parties or some small gatherings and get-togethers and this and that. Because on a Saturday, for example, when everyone's just kind of chilling back and doing all that, the last thing I want to do is go and spend an entire half a day doing something when I can invest in myself in order to be able to function at a very high level that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's okay, because here's the thing. If I choose to have that selfish time, I also choose the consequences and the side effects of that decision. So by doing so, there is a possibility that a few people might perceive me in a negative light, and that's okay. I choose that. Because if I would have just gone to the gathering, gone to the 4-hour birthday party, those people wouldn't say that about me. But guess what? I would have left the experience saying, I just missed out on an opportunity to invest in myself to be able to perform at a higher level. And most high achievers in life, Eileen, they make significant consequences when it comes to the level of socialization. They sacrifice a lot of that stuff. They sacrifice a lot of the parties and the get-togethers and the dinners and all that kind of stuff because they're doing something, investing in themselves. Now, here's the thing. If I didn't go to that get-together and I just sat on the couch and watched Netflix for 8 hours, then it's like, all right, well, I just missed out on an opportunity to go see my family. But if I do something positive, If I engage in something positive, if I invest in my mind, body, my spirit, instead of going there, then I'm at peace with it. So, yeah, the challenge sometimes is truly, it is a challenge, but if you choose to do something, you also choose the consequences that come with it. And sometimes they're negative. Behavior is a choice, most often than not, Mr. Tony. What do we got next? So this one's good. Understanding the pay and play principle. So this one's really simple. In life, you either have to pay now so you can play later, or you can play now, but then you have to pay later. You can't get out of this thing called life without going through that principle. Now, what a lot of people like to do is they like to have their cake and eat it too, which means they like to take the easier, softer way in life, and they also want to play. Well, my friends, that is impossible. Because at some point in your life, you're going to have to pay a big price tag for that. So what I like to do, I like to pay my dues, pay my respect, pay my effort, my grind, my hard work, all that kind of stuff. So as a result of that, I can go play when everybody else is saying, God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right? It's kind of like the principle of instant gratification versus delayed gratification. I'll choose delayed gratification all day because when I'm enjoying life, there's people that unfortunately aren't able to do the same thing at the same time because they chose not to pay at an earlier previous time in life. Paying means making sacrifices, taking the hard way, taking the long way, putting in the time, energy, effort without barely any type of payoff, without any type of play, without any of that. And it's a beautiful thing. I always say, when I work all these Saturdays, I've been doing it it's not just from COVID. I've been doing Saturdays for 10, 12 years now. When I work every single Saturday, right? So every Saturday for a year is what? 52 Saturdays? Every Saturday for 10 years is 520 Saturdays. And you round it up a little bit more, all of a sudden, by just working Saturdays, I've been able to work 2 years extra in the past 10 years than most of my peers. 2 years extra. And then when it gets to a point in my life when I'm going to be able to take a lot of time off and all that kind of stuff, and people aren't able to, they're like, how did you do it? How are you able to take an entire month off? How did you pull it off? Oh, I worked an extra 2 years in the past 10 years. And that's the whole thing of paying now so you can play later, when everybody's going to have a confusion on how that happened. Recovery is the same way. The more you invest, the more you pay, the more you contribute, the more you invest into your recovery in the early stages of building a foundation, the more you're going to be able to play later. In the program, we say you can go anywhere you want and do anything you want as long as you're on good spiritual, solid grounds of your foundation of recovery. And in order to get there, that means that person had a significant, like if I go to a concert surrounded by drugs and alcohol and I get to enjoy the music, it's not because I went there and I was able to enjoy the music. It's because my foundation was so strong in my recovery, my conviction, my belief, that when I went there, I wasn't even looking and distracted by the alcohol and the drugs. I was just like enjoying the music. But in early recovery, when you go to a concert, the only thing you can't experience is the music. It's like all you do is like look and salivate and drool and look at the alcohol and smell the pot and look at the people and just say, why can't I be like them? So to go from there to there, this is what we're talking about. It's that pay to play principle. Now, the next one I have is called deliver on your promise. If you're trying to win in your recovery, you got to deliver on your promise. In the terms of family members, this means this. If you said you're not going to do something, if you set a boundary, if you said this is my limit, then deliver on it. Don't set a boundary, in the words of Jim, if you're unable to follow through with that boundary. There's no point. It's useless. It's stupid. It's childish. If you're going to set a boundary, withhold it. Whatever promise you give yourself, honor it through. If someone says, I'm going to be sober for a year, and after 6 months, they relapse and they say, it was just too difficult. It was too hard. Fair enough, man. But guess what? They also didn't take responsibility for their life, because I have a feeling that there's 1,000 excuses in there. So deliver on your promise. Always deliver what you say. If you're not going to do it, don't say it. And those are simple principles. But most people that win in the game of life and recovery, they deliver on their promise, man. They deliver on their promise. What did Jim say here? Say what I do and do what I say, period. Absolutely. It's why not? And here's the thing, like someone says, I might not want to do it. Well, that's okay. You don't got to say it. If you don't want to do something, don't commit to it. There's nothing wrong with like not doing something. But once you say you're going to do it, then just know those words become reality, and you got to honor that. The next one I have here is learn from your mistakes. So mistakes in the world of recovery are wonderful opportunities for growth, because they show you, they show you with glaring lights. They show you with like hazards on the road. They show you with just, grab your attention of what not to do. And more importantly, how to change what you do to be able to continue going further. So there's no such thing as a mistake in recovery. The only ones that are truly mistakes are when substances like fentanyl are used and there's overdoses, unintentional overdoses, and someone passes away. Like we lost someone that I really genuinely cared for on December 30th, 31st, to the disease of addiction and to fentanyl overdose. So that was his name was AJ, by the way. AJ passed away. And like, man, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. That one of the brightest kids I've ever met in my life. That's a mistake. But anything outside of that lethal, fatal mistake in recovery is beautiful. Is beautiful. And I hope you embrace that. But here's the thing. If you learn something from a specific relapse or a situation of a loved one, and you continue to do the same thing again, I really don't have like the same level of compassion for you. Because I always say, before you get exposed to the information, whatever you do is okay. Because how would you know better? How could you do better if you don't know better? Right? Like, how can I tell a family member that's enabling that what you're doing is bad because you're enabling if they don't know what enabling even means? So that's okay. People do the best they can with what they have to the best of their ability. But once you know better and you continue doing the same thing, like at some point, it's obviously still going to love you and still cheer for you, but I lose like the compassion component of it. It's like, what's the point? You're going to do your own thing anyways. It's kind of like someone goes to the doctor and says, hey, doctor, I'm experiencing this type of problems. And the doctor says, well, don't eat this, this, and this. And then they go eat this, this, and this. And they come back with the problem even worse. And the arteries got clogged even worse. And like, doctor, I don't know what's going on. Well, it's like, well, I told you what not to do and you did it. What do you want me to do? And that's family members in recovery. Ultimately, sometimes they're just as stubborn as their loved ones are. Without some failures, there's no room for growth. Absolutely. As long as the failure is not fatal, unfortunately, there's a lot of room for growth. Number 8, I use this one for myself primarily. It's number 8 is remember that perfectionism will kick your ass. And it really will. If you're trying to do the recovery thing perfect, or you think your loved one's going to do the recovery thing perfectly, or you think that the recovery thing's going to go perfectly, like now that they stop drugs and alcohol, everything's going to be okay. I'm giving you a friendly caution and a warning that is a very dangerous ideology and thought process to go through, because nothing, including me, including you, including your loved one, nothing, including the journey of recovery of myself, yourself, or your loved one's journey, nothing, including the healing process of myself, yourself, your loved one's healing process, will ever go perfectly. The only things that are perfect are little puppies and dogs, that kind of stuff. Outside of that, man. And so many people come in with the idea that once we remove the drugs and alcohol and I get my kid back, then everything's going to be perfect. Well, you know what? Nothing was perfect before they ever started the drugs and alcohol anyways. I've heard the stories They come and share about the family dynamics, and they come share about their upbringing and the challenges that you experience as a family member, as a unit. It wasn't perfect. Don't act like the drugs and alcohol like impacted everything to the point that it ruined it all. Some things were ruined to begin with. And when you take the drugs and alcohol away, that's when a lot of that wreck and that mess starts to show itself. So remember that good enough. I was doing this talk the other day at a facility, and I told the gentleman that, remember this quote. He's a perfectionist. So I told him, remember this quote. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. Sometimes in life, things are good enough, and that's good enough. They don't have to be perfect. Good enough is good enough. And let's see what we got here. JD, good morning. Director of Housing, Ohio House, Chadwick House. JD in the house. We don't live in the problem anymore. We live in the solution once we realize the problem. Yeah, once we realize the problem, oftentimes that problem is ourselves and our attitude and how we view the world. But, it's always a choice, Tony. Like you said, behavior is a choice. Well, choosing to be in the problem or the solution is also a choice too, right? The next one we got here is, I'm a perfect poster child of do what you love. I don't do anything unless I really like it. I don't. And so that means the things that I do are limited, but that means the things that I do, I really, really love, and even if something offered me more money, for example, to do something I don't love, there is a 0.0000% chance I would do it. So let's just say I make X amount of money. If something said that I can make double the money, triple the money, quadruple the money, and infinitum up, but it was something that I didn't love, I would not do it. And I've always, people always tell me, because I say this with this much conviction every time, I've been saying it for years, and they say BS. Like if we give you, and they name off like a lot of money to do something you really don't love every day for like 10 hours a day, would you do it? The answer is still no. I'd rather be broke doing the things I love than have a lot of money doing the things I don't love. And you know what? There's so many people right now potentially listening to this, or in their cars driving to a work they hate, living in a relationship they hate, doing things that they don't love to do, doing things and they're doing it, and they're just doing it because they're supposed to do it. It's like, bro, we got like, at most, if you're lucky, you got 85 years on this planet, 90 years on this planet if you're lucky. And you're going to spend the majority of it doing the things you don't love to do? Like for what? What's the reason? What is the reason? Is it out of fear? Is it out of whatever, this and that? So, man, just do what you love. Do what you love. There is a payoff that happens that comes at the level of fulfillment and satisfaction and joy. Better than a dollar bill. Better than a dollar bill. And I always, whenever I say this to program participants or younger adults, I say, well, that's BS, man, because like you already have some money, so you don't really need all this stuff. Even when I was broke, I still did the things I love. Even when I was broke, even when I wasn't making money, I still did the things I love. You want to know why? Because I know that the qualitative experience of life is more important than any quantitative experience of life. And also, I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work with people that have millions, actually a few people that have billions of dollars to their name with a B, doing the things that they don't love and in situations they don't love. And their depression looked just like the depression of those who got nothing. They sounded the same. They talked the same. They walked the same. They cried the same. They felt the same. Their anger was the same. So yeah, even if I did, and I promise you this, that I would never do something unless I love it. And that's a fact, and I'll stand by it. And, if someday someone comes and offers me a significant amount of money to do something I don't love, and I am able to somehow publicly demonstrate my refusal and my thank you for the offer, but no thank you, I'll be able to prove it someday. But until then, you just got to take my word for it. Life is too short to do things we don't love. Yep. Martha. Hey, by the way, Martha, thank you for the kind email last week about the recovery process. Do what you love and love what you do, and you never have to work a day in your life. And let's see what Hossein said here. Is there a potential for laziness? I have never met somebody who does the things that they love that are lazy, because passion creates and addiction consumes. Doing things people love to do only creates more energy and creates the opposite of laziness. So no matter how tired someone is, no matter how tired it is, if they do something they love, they find the energy for it. Now the question is finding things you love. And that's nothing that I can answer, you can answer. It's a very personal thing to each person. I feel bad for people that don't love anything and don't have a passion for anything. But I'm never worried about laziness. You know what creates laziness? A lazy person creates laziness. It has nothing to do with what they're doing or not doing. It's a depressed person, unmotivated person that doesn't have regulated emotions, healthy mental health. All that kind of stuff can create what we call lazy. But lazy just means someone that isn't fired up and someone that doesn't have something to motivate them, you know. So always do what you love, Hossein, John. There's no point to do anything else. I know sometimes we think we're supposed to do things we don't enjoy because that's life, and that's not. Love being a dad, and I do it well. Proud of it, Tony. Tony D. Give himself a shout out right there. Good job, Tony. It's good seeing you on these talks, man. And last one, don't make excuses. Oof. I'm not a big excuse guy myself. So most people that fail in recovery, right before they fail or after they fail, all that comes out of their mouth is this. Because you want to know why? Number 1 and number 10 tie together very, very closely. If you take responsibility for your life, my friends, you don't make excuses in life. If you don't take responsibility in your life, if it's always your mom's fault and your dad's fault and the sober living's fault and the girlfriend's fault and the boyfriend's fault and the boss's fault and the fact that you don't have schooling and the fact that you don't have education and the fact that you just never get a chance or the fact that you're an outsider or the fact that you're a foreigner or the fact that you're whatever the heck it is, right? As long as all that's happening, you make excuses, you'll never win in anything, let alone recovery, you know? So whenever things aren't even my fault, I'll take responsibility for them. You know, just why not? Because why not? You know, who cares at the end of the day? And I don't make excuses. It's like, if I have 37 things to do today, I will finish all 37 things. And I'm not going to say I don't have time or make excuses, you know. And it's, and by the way, someone always tells me, how do you do it? Well, it's repetition over time. It's repetition over time. It's like, and listening to successful people like I shared in here, like when I look at people that have very big organizations and they say that they have 7 to 12 minute meetings a day and they'll plan like 30 meetings in an entire day. It's like, what do you mean 30 meetings with different people and different topics? They're like, yeah. I'm like, how do you even fit that in a day? Well, each one's only 7 to 12 minutes long. It's like, wow, talk about efficiency, you know, talk about efficiency. So lastly, we talked that winning in recovery equals an inside job. So Hossein said, thank you. Eileen said, caveat. Sometimes you do something you don't love for a time to get to the, for sure. So Eileen, I think this is a very good caveat. I think that going through the motions and trying something, knowing that it's good for you. So the best way I can example it is for example, going on a mental health walk every day, right? If you've never done it before, the first like day, week, month of it, you're just dragging. You're like, what's the point of this? This is stupid. It's not going to do anything for me. It's like, what's the point of walking for an hour and this and that? And then when you actually get going to it and you realize that you love the side effects produced by the walking, the mental health aspect, the clarity, the breathing, the way your body starts to look, and then you wake up in the morning and you crave it. You're like, I need to do this because I love it. So 100%. Sometimes in the program, we say fake it till you make it, right? Fake it till you make it. But when something is truly your love, you don't even have to fake it. You really don't even have to fake it, you know, and it's different for everyone. And Jess, how did the first day of teaching go? Well, so I did my onboarding on Monday. I have a teacher ID now, and I have I have a school email. I'm actually not going to be teaching until the next semester because this semester just started. I just did the onboarding first, but I have my first faculty department meeting on the 23rd or 24th of January. It's just funny for me because I always wanted to teach, but I didn't think it was going to happen. But it took me like 3 years of trying and sending emails annoyingly to the faculty of this place until they finally gave me a shot. But thank you for asking. And it's at a community college in California. So we'll see what I can do there, but I'm really excited for it. All that being said, love and appreciate all of you. Thank you for the question. I hope that you got some value out of this for yourself or your loved one or a combination of both. We talked about how winning is an inside job, and we talked about the different components needed to be able to create that transformation from within to be able to experience it externally. And yeah, I'm grateful to be doing this again. I'll be back next week, same time, same place. We keep doing this. Let's get 2023 rolling to a good destination, and grateful to be on this journey with you. Love and appreciate all of you. Stay safe out there. I think there's a lot of advisories for rain and snow, depending on where you are today, but be safe. Have a good one, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.